Hello and a warm welcome to the second look this Sunday night, where myself and the team, we have our chance to dissect our glorious 4-1 win over Coventry City yesterday at the Vitality Stadium. It was a frenetic start, but then soon after that, it became a familiar affair where Cherries were spurning some golden opportunities, but at least we were creating them though. Thankfully, Danjuma was the man, and 2 goals from him and an assist helped the Cherries to romp to a relatively relaxed 4-1 win over the Sky Blue. So with me to discuss proceedings yesterday at Dean Court, we got Jeff Hayward. Jeff, you all right?
Magic.
Magic. Tom Jordan's here too. You all right, Tom?
Magic.
Magic. And also Neil Dawson. Neil, you all right?
Danjuma magic.
Danjuma magic.
He's always got to go one better, hasn't he? Always.
Of course he has. So, lads, 4 goals on Saturday, 4 wins in a row. Tom, it's amazing how things can change in football, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great being a football fan, isn't it? It feels like only the other day I was saying, I just don't believe in the group. And yesterday I'm just like, I'm wearing a Holland shirt for Danjuma. I'm loving them. I love them all. But yeah, it was really nice. It seems like a while since it's been so comprehensive. I know they scored the free kick quite quickly, but I always felt like we were in control and always felt like we were going to win the game. And that was nice. And I felt like if it had gone on another 10 minutes, we would have been the more likely to get another. To us. That was really nice to see. And yeah, some players back and a lot of people on song. So yeah, it was quite comprehensive, which, like I said, it hasn't seemed like we've had too much this season. So really positive, and getting 4 goals as well. Good to hit the back of the net a few more times as well.
Yeah, and Jeff, was this the first match for you where you actually expected to win? Because it was for me, because for a while I haven't really thought the boys can do the business, but now they're starting to actually make me believe in them.
You know what? It is one of those games that I felt we had to win and should win and ought to win quite comfortably. But then I thought that about Millwall, I thought that about Luton at home, I thought that about Sheffield Wednesday home and away. So those teams, and Derby, and those teams have caused us problems. So it was never a foregone conclusion. And one of the dangers with our squad is they get a bit over complacent and get caught and can't actually change gear when they need to midway through the game. So I was pleased with the fast start. Yeah,
and Neil, you'd got all your credit card details in AFCB TV. We were chatting at half-time on the watch-along, and you were all ready. So you caught that goal after, what was it, 24 seconds or something?
23 seconds, yeah. There'll be a lot of people that didn't know, I imagine, because they'll be tip-tapping away, trying to remember the 3 numbers on the back of the card, trying to get them in, then put it on and go 1-1. Oh shit! It must have kicked off an hour early. But no, it was great. It was brilliant to start like that, and I think brilliant as well to get a 2-goal cushion, because I do think we are likely to concede a headed goal from a set piece. So having a 2-goal cushion really suits us. Well, suits any team, doesn't it? But it suits us in particular, I think, because I think we then attack more and I never felt really under any threat yesterday.
So, Tom, talk us through the opening goal then.
Quite early, wasn't it? Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem like I didn't realise anything had happened, and then the ball was in the net. So, yeah, it was just like I say, I think they had kick-off, but it was a fast start, got it back, and set Arnie away. And he's one of them players at the moment, when he's in that position, I don't expect anything other than a goal, to be honest. So cool and composed in them positions, off that left, cutting in and just putting in the corner. So, yeah, really nice fast start. And straight away, I felt for the lad. I think they said it on commentary. I think they're quite a young player playing kind of up against Danjuma, Eccles, I think his name was, and he must be having nightmares because it wasn't a good game for him to come in. But and Arnie showed that straight away from the off. So yeah, perfect start.
And Jeff, we need to pay credit to David Brooks, who had an instant impact, because that ball right across was incredible, wasn't it?
It was sumptuous, that ball. It was the sort of ball that you used to play in your prime, I'm sure, Sam. Bent with the outside of the left foot, straight into the path, and just teased the defender. Just teased him. He thought he could get it, and he couldn't. And it was wonderful to see. I think that was David Brooks's best performance of the season, probably for the last couple of seasons. Because in the final few games at the end of last season, I don't think he was really fully fit. Or fully firing, and David Brooks fully firing, as we saw in that Blackburn game with that lovely back heel to Smithy to create the goal, the start of that one. I think this time it's just that that difference that it makes. You know, if we've got that player on the right-hand side of that three playing really well, the defenders are really going to be given a lot of problems here, because they can't gang up on Danjuma, they can't overwhelm Solanke. They've got to watch Brooks as well, and that was superb from him yesterday.
It was, and it was a team that was picked with attacking intent, I've got to say. I mean, apparently Jack Wilshere in an interview has said that he likes to play a little bit deeper, but I thought, Neil, that picking him over Pearson maybe set our stall out a little bit in terms of what we're intending to do. And, you know, to be having a fast start like that was brilliant, but it didn't last too long.
It didn't, and Jack Wilshere obviously was at the centre of that. So I think it looks like we're setting up to play Jack Wilshere in home games, Pearson in away games, it looks like, doesn't it? And potentially we might play Pearson in a tougher home game if we were up against a more physical side. That seems to be the pattern. Jack Wilshere, I mean, personally, I think he's better further forward, but obviously he wouldn't displace Phil Billing at the moment. But he lost the ball, and then in trying to win it back, he sort of kicked the guy's foot as he was about to shoot. And that was that. So 3 minutes in, I had a funny feeling actually they might score, because games just go like that, don't they? And I thought a few people were a bit harsh on social media blaming Begovic for that, because I think sometimes you just got to applaud a really good free kick, and it was bent beautifully right into the bottom corner. So I don't think any keeper would have stopped it. So made for an exciting game. Yeah,
it did. And in some ways, Tom, it was quite good to get that done early rather than maybe score on, say, 30 minutes and then Coventry equalise on 60. It was quite nice to get it out of the way, so it showed their intent. And with that in mind, hopefully we would push on. And I would say we controlled most of the first half, but it wasn't picture perfect, was it?
No, there were moments, and Coventry, I felt like it would probably suit us. They're quite open. They're a team near the bottom, but they're not a team that are like a Rotherham who scrap and fight. They're a little bit more try and play. They're quite brave in their approach. So I felt it'd be quite open, and we saw that straight away. It was kind of end to end for a while. But I always felt like if it was end to end, we would have more quality. Like Neil said, the free kick was quality, but it's kind of, it was a silly free kick to give away. But when they score a goal like that, you go, okay, let's regroup, go again. You know, want a glaring error or anything like that. But it was a fast and exciting start, for a neutral. But I felt quite comfortable, because I felt that we would cause them more problems than they would cause us. And we had the players on the pitch to do it. And I agree with what Neil said. I think that games where we're expected to probably have more of the ball, we'll see Jack Wilshere, and games where we're potentially expecting to have to grind it out a little bit more, we'll see more of Ben Pearson. That seems to be the pattern so far. And that didn't surprise me at all.
And Brooks, throughout that first half, he was managing to get on the end of a number of opportunities, as did Danjuma at times, Jeff. It was nice for us to be actually creating chances, but there's always that fear of, because we're not being clinical, will it come back to bite us on the bum later on? But it wasn't the case, and I didn't actually get that concern like I have in previous matches where we haven't been taking chances. I'm not sure if that was down to Coventry or what.
I think the way we were creating chances was really encouraging. Brooks had a really decent effort that, with a bit of curl on it from that right-hand side would have gone in, I think. I think Danjuma always looked a threat. Solanke was connecting the play well. The big concern was that it was a bit harem-scarum at the back at times, and what you get with Wilshere going forward, you lose a little bit. Going defensively, he doesn't track as well as Ben Pearson does. I think certainly when play goes into our box, very often what they were doing with their midfielders was flooding the box for crosses, and we were outnumbered, in our own penalty area, which was kind of unsettling. And if they'd have been more clinical, we could have conceded again quite easily. Then again, we always looked like we had enough in that game. It felt a lot to me like that Blackburn game at the start of the season, where it didn't matter if Blackburn scored. We were always going to have enough. And sounds a little bit arrogant, but everybody was on form going forwards yesterday, and we should have had more.
It felt like we weren't relying on the star men that usually perform for us. Dom Solanke, I thought he did all right yesterday. Philip Billing, Neil has been absolutely phenomenal, but they weren't at their best yesterday. But it just felt like we didn't need to rely on individuals this time, and it felt more cohesive as a team. Yeah, and I think that's the bit that's grown with the confidence over the four wins in a row. So I think the one thing we've been critical about the team, both under Jason and under Woodgate, is that
they have individual moments of brilliance, and occasionally they'll put together 15-20 minutes of excellence. But what you don't see is an identifiable pattern like we had, when we went up from the Championship before, where you could just see that everyone covered everyone knew everyone's role, everyone knew what run people were going to make. But gradually, we're starting to see that creep in now, which means we're less reliant on moments of brilliance, and you can see players dovetailing well together. I thought Kelly and Danjuma dovetailed well. I thought Smith and Brooks seemed excellent together. And gradually, you just see those partnerships coming together. And, we've got a couple of really good tests coming up. It'll be really interesting to see how we do against Norwich. And because I think we're now starting to look like a proper team.
Yeah, that's right. So we eventually did get the breakthrough. I mean, before that, David Brooks, as we alluded to earlier, had a number of chances. One of them, which was his best, where he came across the box and had a low shot with his left foot that I honestly thought was going to ripple the back of the net, but it was a good save by the keeper. Danjuma flashing it wide, but then Danjuma was on the end of it, Tom. Lovely little 1-2 with Billing, but I'm not even sure where it all started, but there was an interception in the middle of the pitch, I think, and it was laid out quickly to Danjuma. And when he was in that position throughout the game, he must have been licking his lips because he had that right back on toast, didn't he?
Yeah, he really did. And like you say, nice little 1-2 with Phil Bill. And then I just expected him to try and pull it across the goal, to be honest, which I don't know why, because he does normally shoot. But then it took me a few replays to kind of see what he'd done, because I thought, how's he got it in from that angle? But looked like almost went underneath the keeper, really. I think, because it's Arnie, I think he was definitely shooting. If it was anyone else, I thought, are they trying to cut it back to Dom? But I think he was. I think he's a player in confidence. We all know that. And it was a really tidy finish. And like you say, he was breaking away a lot. And it felt inevitable that he would get on the end of a few more things as the game went on, which he did. And like we've alluded to as well, I think with Brooksy in there now as well. And I thought Dom led the line exceptionally well. And I think them three, it means you've got so many options. And when you're going forward, and like Neil said, I thought it was one of Lloyd Kelly's better games. I thought him and Arnie were connecting really well together. Being quite critical of Lloyd, and I thought he was back on it. And I thought Smithy had a good game as well. And all these partnerships and connections seem to be clicking together a bit nicer. So and I think that goal was crucial as well. Get us back in the lead, and we just grew from that. Really, I don't think we ever looked back after that second.
Now, do you think he's got the back five he knows and wants now, Jeff?
The back four and the goalkeeper, you mean, not a back five, Sam? Let's be clear.
Yeah,
never want to see that again.
I saw a stat on Sky the other night which said that playing the back four, which we've had 20 games playing the back four, 19 playing the back five up until yesterday's game, and we've got 9 more points playing the back four. So it kind of tells you that the players feel more comfortable. And I was thinking about it today, that if you're swapping between a back five and a back four, coaches, I think, are being a bit too clever when they do that. Players want to know exactly what their job is. They want certainty, and that is what they've got under Woodgate. 4-3-3, that is his best team for home games, I think, for winnable games. I agree with what Neil was saying earlier. I think he'll probably play Pearson in the tougher matches, the away games, where he wants that bit more solidity and control in front of the back four. But that, to me, we're not messing about. We know it's CCV, we know it's Cook, I think we know it's Smith, and we know it's Kelly. That, to me, is going to stick the same back four every game right through the playoffs. Touch wood that we get there. And going forwards, I can't see Junior getting in that team now if Brooks plays like that, which is difficult for a quality player like Junior. But when they're playing that well, that you can't mess it about. That is the system.
It seemed to be when we won the championship back in 2014-15, we always knew pretty much who was going to play, and there were only a couple of positions that were up for debate. Was it going to be Brett? Was it going to be Jan? Are we reaching those kind of times, Neil, where we pretty much can pick the 11 that's going out?
Yeah,
pretty much so.
And I think, and we also know who's going to come on. So as well. So I think if we're losing or drawing, you see Stanislas and Riquelme, because he tends to take his wingers off, and then later on Surridge. And if we're winning, then we'll get the Stacey and Rico come on as probably as wingers. And so I think we do know the side, and I think that's been key to the change in fortunes, has been Absolutely that. And what's really encouraging for me as well is you can look through that side and think if any of them drop out through an injury or a suspension, you can name the player that's going to come in for all of them as well. And although they're not quite as good, otherwise they'd probably be starting. I can name all the players that will come in for them, and neither of them would severely weaken the side. So it's looking, as long as we can carry on like this, it's looking good.
But there is a malaise that tends to happen during some point in the match, Tom, and that time was after half time again, where Coventry seemed to start quite well.
Yeah, they started quite lively. Thought they would. Like I say, it just seems to be their best form of defence is attack, and they try and be brave and try and play and try to get at us. And they probably felt like in that first half that even though we were causing a lot, that they were getting in a few times. So they probably just said, it's more of that, and we might get caught. And as always, really, the next goal was always going to be key because they were going to attack us, and it was whether we can break on them. And fortunately, as the game went on, we did. But yeah, I agree with what the guys are saying. I think the fact that we kind of know this system and that now is paying off. I just remember that when the change of manager and stuff happened, we all kind of said on one of these shows previously that maybe Jason, because of the size of the squad, was over rotating because of the amount of games. And I remember us all kind of saying that when a manager comes in at this kind of stage of the season, they need to almost just get a small group and just say, you're my group, that's it. I'm going to go with you like that. And that seems to be what gets done, which is credit to him, because I think that's what you need. You need a bit of consistency going on from now to the end of the season. But yeah, like you say, start the second half. They definitely come out of the traps, which I expected us to. But I felt we controlled it pretty well and weathered the storm, so to speak. And then we're finding just as many openings as they were.
Yeah, so on 48, they won a free kick midway in the Cherries half following a foul by Carter Vickers. But the delivery, it was headed by Cook but dropped to Matty James, who had a shot drilled down the middle. You know what? They had a few opportunities, but it never felt overly concerning. What was a concern, though, was the injury to Josh Pask, though, with Philip Billing. I mean, it looked like Philip Billing himself was hobbling off at one stage. But, he was down for about 10, 11 minutes, Jeff.
And ended up in hospital. Nasty clash of heads, whatever. I think it was actually instigated by the Coventry centre half who came in behind Phil Bill as well. It was sort of like a really bad sandwich. And to be honest, that break in play kind of helped us. I think it definitely unsettled Coventry because they had to bring on another player, a defender who wasn't quite as quick, as we soon found out. And I think just that kind of break in play gathered our thoughts. Thought, right, let's kill this game. We need another goal, and we got it. And another superbly created goal, superb finish.
Danjuma's providing that unpredictability now, Neil, isn't he? Because you think he's going to hold on to the ball, he's going to try to cut inside, but also we now know that he's got a relatively good low delivery, high delivery. When Junior Stanislas was injured in the game before last, we were all, admiring his set pieces because they were so much better than Juniors because they were getting over the first man, albeit they took a dip after that in the game. But low early ball, I mean, he beat his marker and, the whites of his eyes, he must have been looking at that space thinking, I'm going to run into that. And talk us through the goal, Neil. I thought it was superb.
Yeah, no, he was brilliant. I mean, he properly beat him as well. I mean, he stood him up. He stood him up like Jordan Ibe used to do, just stand still and then go. And the guy, I mean, he absolutely left him for dead. And then the ball across was fantastic. And then Brooks, the right foot as well for Brooks, wasn't it? Which I thought he'd try and cushion that with the outside of his left because most left footers would on a ball like that. But he had the confidence to cushion it in with his right foot because it bounced just before it got to him. So it wasn't the easiest to finish. But there he is. Look. And no, superb to see that nestle in the back of the net. And you knew from that minute on, it would just be a question of how many. So great for Brooksy. And then another game counting moment, or whatever they call them these days, for Danjuma.
An assist for him, and his stats are looking good, Tom. But Tom, when a ball is fired across that quickly, it's very easy to not hit the target. But he did well considering it was his weaker foot, and it was a fairly composed finish, as Neil said.
Yeah, I think he probably would have would have wanted it to fall to Brooksy, to be fair. Very cool, calm head in that position. Like Neil said, he could have maybe thought, I just want to take this from my left, but he didn't. He controlled it really nicely. And yeah, it was a good goal. And like you say, Arnie backing up with numbers again. I've said that a lot with Junior as well, that sometimes kind of comes in and out of games, but if you can back up with numbers, that's all you ask for. And the run Arnie's been on has been incredible, isn't it? So, yeah, we were talking off air at the start. I was thinking, actually, we've been joking about it, but could he find his way into the Euro squad? Because that form is, there can't be many attacking players for Holland that are on that form. And he's got a few appearances there. So, I mean, I don't know, but that would be interesting. But he's certainly backing it up, isn't he? I mean, sometimes he could be a bit frustrating, but of late, you just want the ball to go to him and you want him to just size up his man, and you feel like he's got the beating of him all the time. So, and funny little touch at the end where we took him off because, like Neil said, the game was done. So Woody was just making all the changes and resting him. And I kept thinking, is he going to take him off? And you could see he didn't really want to because he wanted to get his hat trick. But nice to see them both smiling and having a laugh about it at the end. Yeah, he had to do it, didn't he? I think Woodgate said it after the game. If he had got a knock in the last couple of minutes, he never would have forgave himself. So, yeah, shame he didn't get his hat trick. But hell of a performance again from Arnie.
And what is that goal celebration thing he does? Like, what is that thing?
Is
it a swan or something? I don't know what it is.
Well, at first I was thinking, is it a snake? Is it for Ryan Fraser? Like, I've got your spot, your snake. I don't know. That's what I'm telling myself it's that anyway. But I ain't got a clue what that is.
Well, I was saying that if he can create a video of himself the game before last with a thunderbolt and all these like snazzy graphics when he has a shot that's blocked, that Philip Billing ends up scoring, goodness knows what we're going to see this week. I see Jeff's done the same thing as well, because Jeff had his 100th match for league match. Is that right, for AFC Bournemouth?
Yeah.
How do you think he did? I mean, Tom, I'll stick with you because you are Jeff's number 1 fan.
Jeff Hayward, you mean? Yeah. Yeah,
of course.
Of course.
But he did all right though, didn't he, Lerma?
Mr. Reliable, he's had a few up and down games, but I said it in a previous video. I think sometimes with Lerma, because he's so kind of just 8 out of 10, just does his job so well, you forget how key he is. And I think when he was suspended for that Southampton game, I appreciate it was a cup game and a different level of quality, so to speak. I think we noticed, you realise how good Jeff Lerma is when Jeff Lerma's not there. And I just think it's a shame, it's weird really, because since he's come in, we've kind of done that. But he's always been top drawer, I think. And he is reliable and he's been a great signing. And yeah, I really rate what he does, and I think having him in there allows so many other players to be free and to express themselves. He's also added a bit more to his game this season, a bit more box to box at times when we need him to be. I think when Ben Pearson comes on in certain games where we have Pearson instead of Wilshere, you see Jeff going that little bit further forward and turning up on the edge of the box. But yeah, I didn't realise he had that many appearances, but he hasn't had, apart from suspensions, he hasn't had a whole host of injuries since he's come in, really, has he? So kept himself fit, as well as going away on international duties and that. But yeah, let's hope he gets another 100 with us back in the Premier League, because fans' favourite, old Jeff, isn't he?
Yeah, absolutely fans' favourite. So the change was made that we all pretty much expected, I think. Jeff, it was Wilshere off and Pearson on, and it's been a lot of years. It's 1952 since AFC Bournemouth last got a double over Coventry. And even a 3-1, I'm even worried even with a 2-goal cushion, but we did make it a 3-goal cushion, and Ben Pearson was integral.
Can we call him Piero? Can we call him that?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. Well, he did a nice bit of combination work with Adam Smith, and I was willing that ball to go in because I think I like Pearson. I think I've gone on record as saying he's got a great beard, which I admire, as well as he does that dirty stuff in the middle of the pitch. He's always getting niggly tackles in without giving fouls away, which is great. And sometimes he is giving fouls away, which is important too. But I thought he deserves to be on the score sheet. And I couldn't quite see which part of Solanke's body it went in off. But yes, Dom claims it, but we could have had 6 or 7 yesterday. To get 4 was great, and it was pleasing to see Dom on the score sheet, even if he didn't know much about it.
And Kirk Tovey, Tom, he's not going to be happy with that, is he? Because he keeps on reeling off this stat about Solanke not scoring a brace since 2015. So he's going to be nervous in the next match against Huddersfield, isn't he?
Oh, I'm willing. I've never willed someone to score so much. But proper goal scorers finished that as well, wasn't it? You know, made it look like he didn't know what was going on. What a strike! No, honestly though, I think when the game's virtually dead, you think you've won the game. I think we all are willing Dom Solanke to score because that's what you need. You need your striker to just be plugging away, getting the odd goal here and there. So I think we've said before. I think Neil might have said last time actually. He does seem to go on little spurts with his goals. So hopefully he get on a bit of a little run now. But I think sometimes because of his goal scoring record's not always there for the main man up top. I think the last few games he's led the line so well. And if you asked Arnie, when he's getting the numbers, I bet he'll say a lot of it's down to Dom Solanke's. But his work rate's been exceptional. So I was really pleased to see one hit him and go in. I think he earned that over the last few games. I think just loving the way he's leading the line at the moment, to be honest. And Ben Pearson as well, really pleased when he come on because he gets a lot about this, because he's a niggly, horrible kind of midfielder. But I tell you what, when he comes on in games, he controls a game really well. I mean, the amount of times he got hold of the ball when he come on that pitch and just calmed everything down. And just done the right thing. So, really like him. And it's off the bench again. So the options we're having now, Junior to come back, looking quite tasty.
He's the most unfortunate player not to be starting.
Yeah.
Pearson. I think all the others on the bench, you can understand why they're on the bench. You can't really understand why he's on the bench. So I think there's a massive case for starting him even in the games where Jonathan Woodgate thinks we should be starting Wilshere.
In terms of Solanke, Neil, I don't know if you think this, but in terms of all the goals that he scored this season, it feels like half of them are like really unclean finishes, like where it's just like trickled across the line or almost a miss kick or, comes off his backside or something like it did yesterday. Haven't seen those kind of, we've seen a few like Barnsley away, like 4-0, where he turned his defender and scored really well. But there's been very few of those. It feels like it anyway.
No, and there were even last year. I think his first goal wasn't it against Leicester. It was like half a minute after he kicked it, they nestled in the back of the net. He's not a natural clean finishing striker, I guess. So I don't think he probably ever will be. The only thing you'd say in his defence is he doesn't take penalties, and he'll probably finish this season. If he carries on the same run rate, he'll finish this season on 15 or 16. And if you think in our first years in the Championship before, if someone had said we'd have a centre forward that scores 16 Championship goals, we'd be delighted with that. So without penalties, because if you took penalties away from Lewis Grabban and Callum Wilson and Brett Pittman and Jan Kermigan, I don't think any of them. Someone will come on and tell me I'm wrong, but I don't think any of them would have got to 16 goals. So. He's I've knocked him enough in the past, so I feel like I should stick up for him a bit because he's really putting in the performances, and he will. If he carries on the rate he is, 15 goals from open play is not bad, is it?
No, certainly not. So 4-1. Tom, happy days, back in the playoffs as well.
Yeah, looking good. It shows how quickly it changes, doesn't it? We win on Tuesday. I think we got a 5-point cushion then. I mean, it's just madness. But I think that's going to happen. I do think, as much as I like to stay positive, I do think we'll dip again and we'll come. There's still enough games. I think it will still be, I think we've said this for a while now. I think it will be up and down till the end. And it's just, we're hitting a bit of form at a good time, especially when other teams are faltering a little bit. I know Swansea kind of have come back with a win and stuff like that. But Swansea and Brentford look a little bit, up and down, but they've got that cushion. But then I think, Reading aren't looking convincing. As we all kind of predicted, I felt Reading were probably the team that I felt we could catch. But we're also now, up there and close to Barnsley. So, yeah, I think now it shows how quickly it can change. I think now a neutral would tip Bournemouth, would put their money on Bournemouth to get in the top 6, especially when you look at Reading's fixtures as well. They're horrible. But yeah, we're hitting form at the right time, and we're not. I don't expect us to win every game, remaining games, but I think we'll do enough. And it was really, really important because I think we had a real tough double header with Borough and Blackburn. I think they were really, really tough, and I just wanted to win. Didn't really mind how we played, just grind them 2 out. And then I think it would have been easy. I think we alluded to it earlier that all right, this one's a win in Coventry, but you got to go out there and do it. I think Woodgate was very honest about that and said these are the games that he kind of fears, because you can have that complacency sometimes when you know the quality you've got and you play a team near the bottom. We didn't let that happen, and we also put them to the sword with 4 goals. Similar game I would have fought against Huddersfield in the week. So yeah, really, before we're going into a Norwich game where they pretty much will be secured, so might be a decent time to play them maybe, but yeah, I think it's good at the moment, and I'm confident we'll get in there. And once you're in there, and who knows? And It might go up.
It'd be mad based on the season we've had where we've all had so many frustrations. I mean, Jeff, we're currently sat on 68 points, 2 clear of Reading in 7th. We've got a game in hand over them. We've got 5 points. We sit 5 points behind Brentford in 3rd. Who we've got to play? Where can we really finish realistically?
Well, first of all, I want to say what a relief it is to see Cardiff, Millwall and Borough slip up. I think that takes the pressure off. It is down to 6 from 7 in the promotion playoff stakes. Yeah. And actually, the way Watford and Norwich are so far ahead of the others, it's 4 from those 5. Yeah. Reading were unfortunate against Watford on Friday night. I watched that game, and they seem to be specialising in missing open goals, because they missed one against a horrific one against Barnsley, which I'm sure everybody saw on Twitter. If you didn't, you should definitely see that. Yeah. It's unbelievable. And they did the same against Watford and missed an absolutely golden opportunity where it was easier to score. And they actually created quite a lot against Watford. And were it not for Danjuma's sort of, a secondary Danjuma, if I might call him that, scoring 2 really good goals, I think Watford would have struggled in that game. And Reading are not out of it. They have got some tough games, but they're not playing badly. Barnsley, I think, are grinding out results and are going to be difficult for every team to play. I mean, even Neil Warnock went on TV yesterday and said how unpleasant it is to play Barnsley at the moment. I mean, crikey, that tells you how bad it is. Swansea, AU scored a brilliant goal yesterday, which kind of lifted them. And against Millwall, I thought they looked decent, particularly in that second half, although there was nothing really up until that AU goal that showed they were going to win that game 3-0, let alone win it 1-0. And Brentford, I watched their game against Huddersfield a week ago, and they were awful against Huddersfield. Escaped with a 1-1 draw, and then suddenly they can go from that to winning 5-0 away at Preston, who were a tough prospect away from home, as we found out. That pitch is not an easy pitch to play on, and they're an awkward, bloody, horrible team as well. So it's really interesting. Like Tom says, there are probably plenty of ups and downs, but we should fear no one. If we play like that, if we play like we have done for the last 4 games, we will terrify the lives out of all those teams above us because of our attacking threat. And with Beggs in goal, we shouldn't concede too many. I think the critical games for us are going to be Norwich away. If we can get a point out of that, I think that would be really, really good. If we can get a win at Millwall like Swansea did yesterday, I think that would be terrific. And then it's Brentford. Beat Brentford, and I think we could be finishing 3rd or 4th.
And that's the litmus test, isn't it? Psychologically, that could be huge for us, Neil, if we manage to get 3 points against them, given the fact that we might end up competing with them in the playoffs at some point.
Yeah. How you go into the playoffs tends to define how you do in the playoffs. And there's been a few sides that have had a playoff place nailed on for months and therefore chilled and relaxed in their last few games, and then not been able to get momentum back in time for the major event. And there's many tales of people that have come up late and jumped into it on the back of 6 or 7 wins out of 8 or 9, and therefore have done really, really well when they get into the playoffs. So, I mean, we've got the best squad of the teams in the playoffs. I mean, if you look at it, the runaway top 2, we played them 3 times, and they've only taken a point off us in those 3 games. So even if Norwich beat us on Saturday, there'll only be 4 points that the top 2 have taken off us out of 12, and that just shows how strong our squad is. So It's whether or not we can keep the cohesion that we've developed in the last 4 games, because the players are better than anyone that they'll come up against. It's whether or not we can keep the cohesion. That's all key to it. And then, like Tom said, once you're in it, it's anyone's game. But you just got to avoid stupid mistakes or a stupid sending off, because they're the things that kill you in playoffs. But we're as likely to do them as anyone else, aren't we? But we've got better players.
I honestly think, looking at I don't know if it's a Bournemouth bias, but I think if you say it was the 6 as it is now, I feel like we would be, from the outside, I feel like we would be favourites, in the sense that Brentford just keep doing this, don't they, every season. And it seems to be a psychological thing with Brentford. They really struggle to get over the line. From what I appreciate, they've played a lot more games than just the 2 against us, but I saw nothing in Swansea that scared me at all. We battered them in one game, and how we didn't beat them in the away game, I don't know. I look at Barnsley, and I think Barnsley are a good side. Obviously, we saw that not so long ago. Quite inexperienced. I look at it and I think it's hard because when you are invested, but I feel like if I was on the outside, if it stayed like that, I probably would say, I think in one-off games with the squad, like Neil said, you'd fancy us, wouldn't you? And it's, like you said, Sam, it's mad because it feels like I've been annoyed all season and we could end up just going straight back up. But just straight back up, no worries. It's just, we could end up, just celebrating a Wembley win and we're back in the Premier League. So it's mad, isn't it?
Brentford and Swansea are footballing sides, and we because we got better footballers, they don't hold the fear for me. I mean, look how we played against both of them. Look how we played against Norwich and Watford, who are also footballing sides. We beat both of them. The problem for me, the worry for me, is Barnsley, because if someone's tight at the back and throws a lot of set pieces into our box, I think we would rather play anyone in the top six, including maybe even not Norwich and Watford, than we would play Barnsley. But that'll be the acid test. We just got to hope that we don't get them in the first game and someone knocks them out.
How much credit should Woodgate get then, Jeff? Because he seems to have brought the players together, and we could be going on five wins in a row if we get a result against Huddersfield on Tuesday afternoon, evening. Right
man in the right place, eh? I mean, 3 days into the job and you get the head coach's job when you're not expecting it, and thrown in a bit of the deep end. So he didn't really know the club, didn't know the players, didn't know the culture. But hats off to him. You know, he's picked out the problems that we had, that Jason had, and I think that is keeping it simple is the solution. The players have some ego issues, and I think that's what made Jason's job a little bit difficult. Probably that was one of the reasons why he did over-rotate, because he wanted to keep everybody happy. And Jonathan's been able to come in and actually take a different approach. Not quite sure what help he's getting from the other coaches, but I'm sure having some fresh eyes on it's been helpful too. And to settle on 4-3-3, playing the way they are playing, keeping it simple. I mean, we're hitting Rose Z far more than we were under Jason Tyndall when we're clearing the ball, which actually is the right thing to do, I think. Coventry pressed us quite hard yesterday, but we look much better when we just don't faff about and just get rid. It's simple stuff, simple rules, and I think Woodgate deserves a lot of credit. He'll get more credit, of course, if we go up. And that's really got to be the objective, both for him and for this squad. We're too good with this squad to be in the Championship next season.
I think that's what he's done. That's what I was going to say. I think that's what he's done the best, is going back to basics. I think when you've got a squad that we've got, you don't need to overcomplicate it. And he's clearly a bloke that wants his defenders to defend. And it was just setting the stall out and getting us into a pattern and a way of playing. I mean, I remember early on when he won a few games, he then changed, didn't he, to a 3 or something. I think it was QPR. And then we lost, and it was almost a good thing that we lost that, because it meant you go, I won't do that again. But I think he's just making them just do the basics right, because he knows the quality we've got, and things like and then just give it to Arnie and just try and let all the flair players do that. Everyone else just work hard. But also I think like we mentioned, I think the over rotation from Jason. I think if he had his time again, he wouldn't do that. Also think Carter Vickers being fit has been massive. Jason never got to play Carter Vickers, and obviously he brought him in for a reason. And fortunately for us and for Woodgate, no disrespect to Meps, but he hasn't been consistent this season. And Carter Vickers is a proper defender that Woodgate would like. That's been massive. He's been like a new signing, hasn't he? And also just before Jason left, he brought in Ben Pearson. Never got to play him, but he's been another one, hasn't he? So I think whatever happens, if we were to go up, I think there's a lot of things that have come together from the turn of the year, and Woodgate deserves credit for just doing the basics really well and just letting us just not overcomplicate it. I think sometimes a manager come in and want to have their own style, but he's kind of almost, because of his lack of experience, maybe he's just gone, I've got a bloody good squad here for the Championship. If we just set them up right, they should be able to do it. And that's what's happening at the moment.
And also possibly because his contract's only till the end of the season, so he's not building anything particularly for future years. He's just got 6 months or whatever it was to make the most out out of what he had. What will be really, really interesting is because it looks like, we think we should get in the playoffs. Would that be enough to keep him his job? Because I still think we've got designs on bigger names to manage it. So he's 100% he's fighting for his job as well. But I think what he has done, because he's been in some of the world's greatest dressing rooms, I think he knows how to handle egos, and I think Eddie latterly didn't with some of the players that he brought in. I think that was part of the problem. He never really got on top of the situations with Josh King and Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson. I think Jason similarly from that stable. I mean, Jonathan Woodgate's played for Real Madrid. He's not going to get fazed by someone like Danjuma saying, "I want to stay on because I want to get a hat trick," or someone else knocking on the door saying, Jack Wilshere knocking on the door saying, "Why aren't I playing?" Because he stood in a changing room with the world's greatest players, hasn't he? So.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I remember when we were talking about potential candidates, and the reasons a lot of people liked the thought of Nigel Pearson, was because of that, and because you think he won't take any shit. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we didn't know that Woodgate, but it does feel like he's got a lot of them characteristics, doesn't it? Like Neil said, being in them sort of dressing rooms and things like that. I was thinking about it earlier when I saw that Newcastle won, and it looks like I reckon Fulham will probably go down. It wouldn't surprise me if we got promoted and tried to get Scott Parker. There's been a lot of murmurings, hasn't there, about we quite like Scott Parker, and Scott Parker but we couldn't get him away from Fulham because they look like it's almost looking like now they've blown it and they're going to go. I think they're closer to West Brom now than Newcastle. So I think they'll probably go down. That wouldn't surprise me. It'd be harsh on Woodgate if that were to happen. But if that's the planning in mind, then can't argue with that. But yeah, it'd be interesting because he's only got that short contract. Absolute masterclass from the board, wasn't it? Just giving him that short contract, get him up. I always said they knew what they were doing up there.
Hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We've still got Huddersfield Tuesday. And
Jeff, keep it up, Jeff. Keep it up.
Come on. We've won 4 on the spin. Let's make it 5. And Huddersfield, they could be the Huddersfield that played against Brentford and got a 1-1 draw, or they could be the Huddersfield that got destroyed a few days later by Norwich. And in fact, they should have got destroyed by Rotherham yesterday. They were really lucky to escape with a 0 in that game. Rotherham missed 3 comfortable sitters. So let's hope they're still confident shot and we can go up there and do a job on them, because we absolutely need to go into that Norwich game feeling good, feeling like we can beat Norwich, who've won so many games this year by the odd goal like they did yesterday. It was just, there's nothing between them and other teams. They just always seem to win, and nothing would delight me more than for us to turn them over and do the double over them when they finish champions.
I thought the same, Jeff, when I know you said it earlier about what you said about Norwich, and what you said about that Watford game, that Reading were unlucky. Watford are doing the same sort of thing at the moment. I speak to a few lads that I know that are Watford fans. It sounds very like us at the start of the season. They go, we're not playing that well, but we're just getting over the line. A bit of magic here and there. And Norwich have done it consistently all season. We had a spell of it at the start, and Watford are doing it at the right time, haven't they? Then they're not. But I know they have the odd result now and again. But Norwich and Watford aren't blowing teams away, but they know they've got the quality and they found a formula, and we just haven't been able to keep that up consistently, because we all come down from the Premier League and we've clearly got the 3 best squads. They've just had that consistency, haven't they? I don't want to look back too much, but January, 4 defeats in a row and a draw against Millwall. I mean, all those 4 games, we should have got points out of, and we should have arguably beaten Millwall as well. And you take 1 point from those 5 games instead of 12 or 13. Look at what a difference that makes to where we are now.
Yeah, take Watford and Norwich out of the equation, Neil. Do you think it's actually quite a weak championship?
Yeah, it feels, I don't know whether it's just because we've got better players, but it feels a lot weaker than when we were in it before, bizarrely, because we romped it. So really we should have thought that was the weak championship. But I remember, cracking games that year, away at Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough had a strong squad. They just fell away at the end, didn't they? And Watford were excellent. Sheffield Wednesday coming down here, Forest Derby turning us over at their place. I went to both games. Felt like big teams, beating us. So you just it doesn't feel the same level as it did when we were here before, and we should have gone up. And if we'd appointed a decent manager at the start of the season or kept Eddie, I think we would be right up there with Norwich and Watford, and we would be having this show trying to debate whether we were going to get in the top 2.
Who were the 3 teams that went up when we when the last time we were in the Championship? So
yeah, exactly.
It's happening again.
It's happening again. Do you think there's a correlation, Tom, between squad happiness and results? Because there seems to be. Everyone seems to be smiling at the moment.
I think confidence is massive in football, isn't it? We just talk about the run we're on now, and Jeff just alluded to that run we had in January. And sometimes you have a really bad result, and it turns into 3 or 4 or 5 bad results. You have a few good results, and it turns into. Do you know what I mean? I think confidence is a massive thing. They definitely look like they're playing with a smile on their face a little bit more, which is great to see. They seem a bit more together, don't they? But that comes with winning football matches. We weren't saying they looked unhappy at the start of the season when we weren't playing well, but we were on this massive unbeaten run. You know, sometimes it's just about confidence and things like that. And Woodgate seems to have got the group quite together, which is nice to see. And I think they just believe it again. I think they fell off a little bit and thought, oh God, this ain't going to happen. I'm going to have to move at the end of the season. And now it feels like they think, actually, when we turn up, we can easily, and then if we get in the playoffs, we can easily go back up, and then I'm going to be a Premier League player. And yeah, they certainly look more happy, but that comes with winning football matches, and we're doing that at the moment. So just keep ticking along. I think that's like Jeff said. Then we've got Huddersfield on Tuesday. It's not just going to that. It's another one-off game. Just keep taking them as one-off games, and we'll be fine. And I think we'll be in there.
Brilliant. Well, Jeff, closing comments?
Oh, well, I think the Championship, I agree with what the guys have said. The quality ain't great, but it's the hard work. And I think that is demoralising for our group of players. You know, they're flair, they're exciting players. They probably want a bit more rest than they're getting. You know, it must feel like a bit of a treadmill for them. Oh, God, I've got to produce that magic all over again. I only did it 2 days ago, you know. And I think that physical aspect of the division has been the biggest surprise and probably the biggest reason why we haven't been as consistent as we would like us to have been. But yeah, onwards and upwards. Tuesday, here we come. Let's get a good result against Huddersfield. I'm really looking forward to then Norwich after that. If we can win against Huddersfield, wow, that would be some game.
Yeah, we certainly do need a bit of magic. And if we've got a player that can brand his own magic, Danjuma magic, then we got a chance. Neil, closing comments?
No, all I ever want from a Bournemouth side, because we're not going to. We can't win the Premier League, so it's not going to happen. So we've probably been as far as we can go. All I ever want from any side is that they play to their collective ability. They put in a lot of effort for the fans, and they all give their all. And unfortunately, we've not really seen that for playing to our collective ability. We've not seen that for 24 months. So we're starting to do it again now. We're starting to play like we could. So. That makes me happy. Whatever the result, that makes me happy.
Brilliant. Well, fingers crossed it'll be 3 points against Huddersfield. Cheers for your input today, guys. Thanks, Tom.
Cheers, boss.
Cheers, Jeff.
Cheers, Gaffer.
Thanks very much, and thanks, Neil.
I can't think of another word for gaffer.
I can see the brain cogs going there. But thanks, Neil Dawson. And thank you to everyone that's been watching as well. Remember, if you want to listen to this, it is on the audio pod as well. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one of the Cherries.